Hello everyone, welcome to the steering team video related to the School Improvement Institute. The focus of this video is on the School Improvement Council. My name is Sue Reynolds and I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. So let's begin with a real quick review of the steering team upon which you serve. Remember, the steering team is made up of 6 people. And then possibly others if there are other school improvement initiatives in your school like Title I or Project Lead the Way or High Schools at Work. But basically on your steering team are these 6 people. So the job of the steering team that you sit on is to facilitate school improvement planning. And I really want to emphasize that the steering team are not decision makers. The council will be your decision makers, but the job of the steering team is to facilitate the planning process. And also, just a reminder, on your steering team we delegated tasks, and 2 of the tasks relate to the council. One person on your steering team is the council discussion point person. That person's job to make sure that all 5 of the council discussions occur. And then the other point person is the council consensus point person. And that person will be responsible for taking all of the input that's provided during discussions, coming up with a consensus statement, and then sending it out for review and for consensus. So you have 2 people on your steering team that are responsible for the work of the council. Okay, let's look at the School Improvement Council. First of all, the School Improvement Council in SI2 is open to everyone and anyone. Anyone in your community that's interested in education, that's interested in your community's youth or economic development, is welcome to be part of the Improvement Council. So when we're looking at recruiting, we want to look at educators, of course, parents, and community members. So the advantages of having a council rather than just having the steering team be the decision makers. The advantage of the council, the primary advantage, is that with the council we get a variety of perspectives at the table. You'll have rich discussions and you'll make sound decisions for all students and not just the students that come into contact with the steering team members. The school and community also begin working together to raise achievement. Students begin to hear the same messages at home and in the community that they're hearing at school. And often council members bring resources to the table. It may be information that the schools don't have, but it could also be funding or worker bees. There's a lot of really good reasons for bringing the community to the table. And then a secondary reason is that a school improvement team is required by PL 221 and it needs to have educators, parents, and community members on it. So in creating this council, you are also meeting this requirement for Indiana Public Law 221. So the ideal council makeup would have these 3 types of people: educators, parents, and community members. So all of these folks are important. I want to highlight a couple. In SI2, we ask you to require all teachers to be part of your council. When you have discussions, you can make the discussions voluntary. You can make face-to-face discussions voluntary, but we would like teachers that don't come to the face-to-face discussions to use the online system to enter their input. And then, of course, we also want to require all educators in your building, so counselors, administrators, teachers. We also highly recommend that you have a representative from all of your feeder schools and also the schools that receive your students after they leave your building. In terms of parents, we want a wide variety of parents. We would like parents representing all grade levels, parents representing all educational programs. So there may be a career and tech ed parent, or a parent of a special ed student, or a parent of a high ability student. So all different kinds of educational programs are represented by the parents. And in all communities, if you are a rural consolidated school, we want to make sure that all the different communities that consolidated into your school years ago are represented on your council. And then finally, in the community, Just going down through the list: economic development, business, community foundation, media, youth service organizations, faith-based organizations, service clubs, libraries, agencies, local government. We think those are all very important to have on your council. Most important one there is economic development. We find that discussions get really rich when economic development and business are at the table because they're very worried about what the workforce is going to look like 10 years from now. And while they have lots of opportunities to impact their material resources, they have very few opportunities to impact their human resources. So we think they'll have a very much an interest in serving on your council, and they'll have some great input for you so that you can prepare students to take jobs in a global economy after they leave your K-12 educational system. We have found economic development to be very interested in working with elementary schools as well, because they know that 10 to 12 years from now, those will be the people that are entering the workforce. So okay, so again, economic development, almost all counties probably in Indiana have an economic development council, so it's just a matter of researching who that person is. And I would just call, and you can make a cold call and just say, we're interested in somebody from economic development being on our council, and could you appoint somebody to work with us? In terms of your business representatives, we would really recommend that you work with a business that's large enough to have a human resources department, and that you ask them to appoint somebody from the Human Resources Department to serve on the council. Again, these are the people that are interested in helping you prepare workers for a global economy and preparing kids for their futures. So they'll have a big interest in being at the table with you. Your community foundation we have found a lot of resources, financial resources that might be helpful to you. They also have a lot of outreach into the community and can help you with networking. We've done a couple of initiatives in the past couple of years with community foundations, and we've discovered that having them at the table is wonderful. They also understand systems change. They're just really good partners with schools, so I would contact them as well. They tend to not have large staffs, and so it may be difficult for you to get someone to be on your council, but I would certainly try. Service clubs. I did some research of the mission statements of the bigger service clubs in Indiana, and like 80% of them have the word youth or student in their mission statement. So they could be worker bees down the road to help you implement your interventions, and they certainly are interested in kids. So you might call your local Lions Club or the local Optimist Club and ask them to appoint someone to serve on your council. So the other thing we want to pay attention to when you're looking at your council is, does it mirror the community in terms of race, ethnicity, economic level, gender, and geographic location? So if you have a Hispanic population in your community, we would want some of your council members to be Hispanic. If you have low-income, free and reduced lunch students in your community, which you probably do, we'd want some of the parents to be maybe parents of free and reduced lunch kids. So, when you look at your community, we want to make sure that the demographics in your community are also found in your council. One question that we always get is, does each school have to have a council? And the answer is yes. However, there will be some things that you can do to have the councils work together. So let me explain that a little bit. We'd like each of your schools to have a separate council for two reasons. One, because student data is different in every school. The root causes are different in every school. Some may be the same between schools, but there will be unique ones in every school. And two, the politics are different in every school. So we really need each council to be focused on one school. However, If there are a lot of schools in your district that are all participating in SI2, here's a way that you could save some time. If there's a presentation to be made, let's say there's 5 schools in your district, if there's a presentation to be made, you don't have to present that presentation 5 different times, once for each council. You could just bring all the councils together, do the presentation, and then separate into different councils. So you might start in an auditorium and then separate into classrooms for your council meetings to actually have the discussions or look at the data or whatever. So, but we do want a separate council in each school. Remember that your council members are not worker bees, they're thinker bees. Their job is to listen to the information that you present, go through the data that you give them, and then to come to consensus on decisions. So they're thinkers, the work behind the scenes to facilitate all the discussions, to get the data together. That's the job of the steering team, which is what you are. Okay, so in terms of the council responsibilities, and I see something I want to edit here real quickly. There are 5 discussions that the council will participate in. So they're going to watch videos and study data and then discuss key questions. We hope you'll have those discussions face-to-face, in person, but it is possible in lieu of a discussion to just have council members give you input into our online system. And we don't think that's very strong, but if you're unable to have face-to-face meetings, that would work. And they'll be making decisions about your vision statement, your goals, your root causes, and your interventions. Very often, the council members become school advocates because they understand, as they're looking at your data and meeting with your teachers, they'll become very strong school advocates for you, which is a really nice benefit. And then also, your council members may decide to implement with their own organizations interventions or activities that would complement what you're doing. So, for example, let's say that one of your activities is to talk with kids about post-secondary education. Well, it might be that your Kiwanis Club then organizes a bus tour of 3 or 4 different post-secondary institutions for your kids. So down the road, what we love to see start happening, and normally this doesn't happen until like year 2 or 3, but the council members will start saying, you know, our Kiwanis Club could do this, or our business could do that, or, you know, the mayor's office could do this. So, yeah, so there's lots of different benefits, side benefits that come out from this council. Okay, in terms of recruiting your council members, you can go with mass invitations to all educators, which of course teachers are required, educators are required to be on the council, so we definitely want to send mass invitations to them. Send a mass invitation to all your parents, all your community members. That can be through an article in the newspaper. It could be that you've got presentations at the Kiwanis Club or whatever about joining the council. And then you could also do targeted invitations. So you could target parents of a grade level. You could target specific parent leaders. I think more often we're talking about targeting community stakeholder groups. So targeting the Economic Development Council, targeting the Community Foundation or the Mayor's Office, targeting the larger faith-based organizations or the Boys Club or Girls Club. So we've got mass invitations that just go out en masse, and then we've got targeted invitations. So there's a document that we have that will help you tease out what stakeholder groups may exist in your community. So what we've done in this document is we've separated these stakeholder groups by community and by parents and by teachers, education. And so what we would suggest that you do is to sit down as a steering team, and again, the School Improvement Council discussion point person would be coordinating all this, but she or he would get the steering team to sit down and say, okay, do we have local government in our community? Check. They'd circle that. Do we have economic development in our community, in our county? Check. Do we have a work one? Do we have business and industry? Do we have labor reps? So you would just go through and circle all of the community or community stakeholder groups that you have, and then you'd go back and say, okay, who could we contact to be a rep for local government? It may be that, like in my school, when we put together our first council years ago, we knew we wanted someone from Arvin Industry, but we didn't know anybody. So we just called up Human Resources and said, could you send us a rep? And they found somebody for us. So you don't have to actually know someone. You could call the organization and ask them to be involved. Okay, and in your manual, in the steering team manual, that's document 2.2. Then also in your manual, we have links to rosters of businesses and local government reps and some others that we've put together with links. So if you go in the manual and look for document 2.3 and then click on these things, you'll get a roster statewide of who these people are in each community. Okay, then in the steering team manual, we also have provided for you sample recruitment letters and recruitment talking points in a one-page flyer. And then there's also a letter after someone agrees to join your council. There's a letter that would go out to those council members. So how do members join the council? It's really simple. They go to this website, asainstitute.org/join-council. And that page will open up and look like this, and all they have to do is type in your school's identification number that's been assigned by the Indiana DOE, and then click Find, and then the system will ask them to type in their contact information. So they'll type that all in, and then after they submit, they'll get a thank you for joining your school's council. You'll receive emails periodically inviting you to take part in online discussions. And then we're just telling them that if they have spam filtering, please ask the network administrator to allow mail from ASA at asainstitute.org. So they get this thank you note, and then as you start to hold discussions, the system will automatically send emails to these people letting them know that your discussions have opened and how to get involved. Okay, so what we need you to do is to make a plan for recruiting your council members. So this is what your council meeting or council discussion point person will want to do. It's their responsibility, but they'll want to get you to help them. So the whole steering team is going to work on this. So you're going to determine who's going to write the letters, the newspaper articles, to invite people to join, determine when the letters and articles will be disseminated, and you'll need to do that to give people enough time to say yes and then to get your first meeting on their calendar. And then targeted invitations, which stakeholder groups are you going to go after, and determine who you would like to invite from each group, and then determine which steering team members will call each potential council members and by when. Okay, one other thought there, if you were in a district where all of your schools are participating in SI2, you may want to coordinate that a little bit so that the biggest employer in your district doesn't get 9 different requests to be on 9 different councils. So what we've seen there, a good model I think is that it happened in a very large district, is that all of the council meeting point persons from all of the different schools got together for a quick meeting, and they said, okay, let's just list all the business and industry in our in our area, and then they divvied them up between the schools. So that way, not one business wasn't getting 9 different requests. So something to think about if all of your schools are involved in SI2. Okay, the rubric. All teachers are members, parents of different student groups are represented, economic development's represented, local businesses represented, community agencies, youth service organizations, and then also we need to make sure if you are a Title I school-wide, we need to make sure that representatives of the federal programs in which you're participating, Carl Perkins or you know, the Even Start or whatever, that that representatives of these state or federal programs are on your council. That's real important for Title I. And then we've got a phone number and an email for each council member. And actually that won't be hard for you to collect because remember when people joined your council, they typed that in about themselves. Okay, and as always, if you need help, call Tina, and don't forget the 5-minute rule. That is now the 5-second rule. Just really, anytime you need Tina, call. We know that you're busy and that you don't have time to be confused, and so if something doesn't make sense or if you just want to bounce an idea off of Tina, feel free to give her a quick call, or if you would need more time, schedule an appointment with her and she'd be happy to meet with you. So, okay, that's it, and we look forward to reviewing your council rosters.